What is up, everybody? Welcome to Office Hours. Welcome. Jeff Bliss says marathoning with Mike Day. All right, I love it. It's good to see you. Welcome to Office Hours, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a nice Friday. I am going to put the invite link into the comments here. Okay, the invite link is if you want to join me on the call, as in on camera, so that we can have a conversation. Please use that invite link and you will show up first backstage here in my little management system. And then I can pull you onto the screen when you're ready. So don't worry if you click that link and you use it, you're not gonna all of a sudden just pop up on the screen. You'll have an opportunity where I will call you out and make sure you're ready to go live. But if you would like to join me for a conversation rather than just using the chat here today, then please go ahead and do that. Welcome, Philip. Welcome, Mr. Robert Brennan. Jeff, welcome. See some other folks back there on the line. Welcome. Looks like you can see me and hear me okay, so I think all systems are go. Feel free to chat in any questions that you have. If you have any questions, let me know. And just go ahead and type them in. These are Q&A sessions. These are not, I have nothing prepared for you in terms of training. So if you don't have any questions, we will sit here and stare at each other awkwardly. And but hopefully you have some questions that I can help you with, and that's why you're here. David Cartwright, nice spending the day with you, sir. Welcome. I do have a couple of queued up questions that I will address. Yes, Jeff, absolutely. This is a great place to ask about HighLevel. Please go for it. Yes, anything goes here. If I can't help you, I'll tell you I can't help you. But any topic goes related to building your business and starting your business and entrepreneurship, and anything that you think I can help you with, I will give it a shot. So you can feel free again to type in any questions, or if you want to jump on camera with me and we'll have a conversation, we can do it that way as well. Okay. One question that came up just recently, somebody was asking me about what I see as the big differences between Instagram and YouTube right now. If I had a choice between focusing on one or the other, what would I do? Really good question. And I think that the answer needs to have a little bit of context to it. So if you were, let's say in a local market, trying to build your market, build your presence in a local market, I love Instagram. Instagram to me, I think, is the most local app. It's awesome. It is, for the most part, Instagram is people taking pictures of what they're seeing as they're going about their life during the day. They're out at a restaurant and they've got, they got served some dish that's really big and beautiful, so they're taking a picture, or they're out and they get a great shot of the sunset or whatever it is. And so they're sharing what it is that they're seeing and they're doing every day. So it's a very local app natively. And it is awesome for creating and engaging with a local community. So I publish there San Diego, a local media business here in San Diego, and Instagram is a major part of our success because we have built up a local community of 25,000 people on there that we have great connection with. We get a lot of interaction with, and it's an easy way to get in contact with people here in your local market, business owners and things like that. Super effective. So if you are, in a local business, so you've got a local restaurant, you've got a local store, you've got a local marketing business, advertising business, like I do, any of that type of stuff, I think I think Instagram is amazing for that. And I would choose it over YouTube, I think, in almost all cases for local. Okay. If you are developing a business that has more broad reach and it is in specific niches, I think Instagram is incredible. So on Instagram, fashion related things, travel related things. I mean, those are two huge ones. Fitness, is a big one. Those niches are awesome on Instagram and will get you tons of engagement, tons of followers, all that type of stuff. And you see people on Instagram just crushing it with, anything fitness related, image related, right? It's a very image intensive platform. So if you are doing something in one of those niches, I think that Instagram is incredibly, incredibly powerful. If you are doing anything where you want the opportunity to address your audience and demonstrate your expertise, demonstrate how to do any sort of longer form entertainment, anything like that, I don't think you can beat YouTube. I think that YouTube is incredible. A lot of you have come to me over this last year through YouTube because I've started investing some more time and energy into that. I have a small audience on YouTube still. It's not even a couple thousand subscribers at this point, but the value of YouTube to me has been tremendous in my training business, in my expertise business, right? It's been tremendous because even if the sheer numbers of subscribers is not that great, they're very engaged. They ask a lot of questions. They consume a lot of my content and then come and buy things. Instagram, that's just not the case. I'm not saying that you couldn't still do that on Instagram. I'm just saying that I think that YouTube is better. I think that it is better at getting you the attention of new people more quickly. The YouTube algorithm and the way it will get you traffic and get you new visibility and all that good stuff, I think is really, really good. So I would definitely, if you are doing, like I said, any sort of expert content, any sort of longer form entertainment, anything like that, I would absolutely be all over YouTube. I think it's an incredible platform, and I'm a complete idiot for not focusing on it for years. So I hope that helps. Who was it that I can't even remember exactly who that was that asked that question, but if you're here or you're watching the replay, I hope that helps you. Okay, let's see here. Jeff says, perfect. I imported your R4 snapshot and then edited it in many places. If I import the snapshot again, I think you updated it. Will it overwrite anything I edit on the previous edit? Okay, very, very good question. Yes, for those of you who are using HighLevel, this is super important, okay? When it comes to snapshots, re-downloading a snapshot, so downloading a snapshot for the second time or third time or whatever, getting updates to it, stuff like that, can be a precarious proposition if you don't know what you're doing, okay? So let me give you a couple of best practices. So the answer is yes, Jeff, you could overwrite some things, okay? The way that HighLevel sees and determines if something is going to be overwritten is by the name of that asset. So in other words, Jeff, if you download the R4 and then you make some of those changes that you're talking about, and then you change the name of the thing that you changed, HighLevel will not overwrite it because it will see it as a different thing. Okay? So if you change the name of the funnel to Jeff's R4 funnel, and then you download the new R4 and it sees Jeff's R4 funnel, it sees that as a different thing now. Okay, and it will not overwrite it. So same with any other thing in there. So if you give it a different name, it's like giving it a different file name on your computer, right? So if you download a file, then you download a file again, and it sees the name, it goes, well, this file already exists. Do you want to, overwrite it, or, give this one a new name and change it as a separate copy, right? Exact same concept. So just rename the thing in HighLevel if you are using it, okay? Second thing, awesome, Jeff, awesome, good. So second thing though, I just want to add to this, Jeff, is as a best practice, I always recommend, so if you were to look at my HighLevel account, I have Mike's sandbox account. So I've created a dummy account that's just my account to play with, right? So I'm not worried about anything in there getting beat up or destroyed or anything. So if I'm downloading something new, I will download it usually in that account first, so I can take a look at it. What did I even get here? Do I want this stuff? Maybe I only want a couple of the assets. So then I just copy those assets into my real account rather than having everything that's in there, right? So highly recommend that you do a dummy account and then, copy stuff from there. And then the final thing that I would say is that when you download things into HighLevel now, it will take you through a process where it will say, hey, we see that there are duplicates of these things. Do you want to skip downloading them? Do you want to overwrite them? Whatever. So it's got an import manager that it will take you through that process. And you can literally, by asset, every single little thing that's in that snapshot, you can say, skip that, download that, skip that, download that, whatever. So you've got all kinds of options there to, make sure you don't get yourself into trouble. It looks like I've satisfied the question that you had there, Jeff. And so hopefully that takes care of it for you and for anybody else here that's listening. Okay. Kurt, Happy New Year to you. Absolutely. Best in 2022 here. Jesse says, YouTube fits your leverage methodology. It's evergreen. Absolutely. Jesse, thank you actually for making that point. YouTube is much, much more evergreen than Instagram is. Instagram is getting more evergreen. It's got more, you can build your Instagram TV, although I don't even know if it's called that anymore, Instagram video. You can build the channels in there and, keep videos and stuff like that. But for me, and I still get the impression for just about every other person on the planet, people don't sit on an Instagram account and explore the videos like they do on YouTube. YouTube's got it figured out, right? You get on YouTube, you can be on YouTube for hours, just watching video after video after video. They've got that figured out, okay? So Abigail says, I provide Google Business Profile Management and local listing services for physical therapists that I have systemized to a certain degree. How do I make this service an access, not asset? So Abigail, if you have a chance to, if you want to use that invite link and join me in the conversation, I might be able to answer this better. I want to make sure that I understand the question as effectively, as clearly as possible to give you as good of an answer as possible. But what I would, based on what you're asking, okay, so anytime this goes to the services that scale methodologies, okay? So if you have a service that you are providing over and over again, and you can turn that service into a very specific process, one, that includes specific assets, two, then you've got something that's dramatically more scalable, right? Because now you can productize that and you can say, hey, look, for $997, you get our 12-step super duper Google Business Profile Management system, plus our proven campaign assets, whatever those are, that you include in there to make it a thing. Now you've taken this service that you used to on a customized basis and you've turned it into a thing, right? So if you sell that, if you continue to sell that as a service, you're going to have just a more structured and profitable service because you've put some boundaries and some edges around it. Abigail, I see you there. Let's go ahead and bring you on here. I'm gonna finish up my rant here, but then we can have a conversation around this. So second thing that I want to say is that once you've turned it into a thing, it gives you the option to sell it in different formats, right? So once you've turned that thing into a process that's step by step, it's documented, it's got assets to it, all that good stuff, you could then sell that as an information product, as an example. Because now it's got a structure to it. You've taken what was a service, you turned it into a product that you can now sell in a different format, which is infinitely more scalable, right? So you could go that route if you wanted to. But then the other thing that you can do is, which is, you know, common in the space that we're talking about, kind of in the agency space or whatever, is that you could turn that service now into some sort of a software play, right? You could say, okay, now that I know the steps, this is the way that a lot of the best software platforms get developed, is they start as services. And once the person has the service really nailed down, they can take software and develop the software to manage those steps step by step. So then you can give somebody access, right? You can give somebody access to that software to then accomplish the goal that the service was accomplishing before, when it was done with time and talent. Okay, so a lot of the best software platforms start as a service. They get the service dialed in and they go, okay, well, now we can take software and we can automate these steps. We can bring scalability to these steps. We can take costs out of these steps. And so that's kind of the progression of it, Abigail. And I see, Abigail, I don't know, you're not backstage anymore, so it looks like you dropped off there. I hope you're still on the call, though, and hopefully this is helpful to you. But that's kind of the progression of how you're thinking about it. Is like, okay, I was doing something custom. Then I figured out I was doing the same things over and over again. And so I, you know, made it structured steps. And then I realized, well, I could actually, you know, create some assets around those structured steps that will help me be even more efficient, more standardized, you know. So I've got this image down to a template. I've got this campaign down to a template, you know, that type of thing. So you just make it even more and more productized and efficient. The more you do that, the more it opens up opportunities for you to sell it in different formats, at different margins, with different degrees of effort that have to go into providing it, and also with very different potential valuations around that product, right? Because when you sell it as a service, maybe you sell it as a $997 service, but you can only do 10 customers a month. You sell it as a info product, maybe you can only sell it for $97, but you can sell an infinite number of them. And you sell it as software, you can sell it, you know, at $47 a month, an infinite number of them, and get the crazy equity valuations that software tends to get, right? So there's all kinds of different, you know, financial mechanics around this. So Abigail says, I was hearing duplicate voices. I couldn't hear you well. Yeah. So just so you understand here, guys, if you join me on the backstage link, then essentially what you need to do is shut down where you're watching me on YouTube, or else you're going to have the audio coming in from YouTube and the audio coming in from where you're backstage with me on the live stream. So you got to be one or the other, right? So Abigail, if you decide that you want to give that a shot and come back on with me, like Dorn was just saying, mute YouTube. Yep. So if you want to come back on and give that a shot, I'd love to chat with you, and we'll give it another shot. Jeff, would you like to come on and have a conversation? See you backstage. Awesome. There he is. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can hear you. What can I do for you?
Good stuff. So I've got, feel free to cut me off anytime with my questions. I always have probably too many.
No, it's all right. Go for it.
All right. So the first one is regard to packages and how you invite a new client. So for example, I have my own Go HighLevel account, the starter account, but it's possible, I suppose, that I could have ended up as a sub account under your agency, right? So if you're speaking to somebody about go high level, how do you help them decide, or you decide which way to send them? And this kind of continues a little bit in that. So most of the agencies say, well, look, you have these 3 packages. And as an example, package 1 has reputation management, package 2 includes text back, and package 3 includes a website, right? These kind of things.
Yep.
But if they visit the HighLevel website, they'll see that just in the starter pack, they get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So, so presenting it in a way that they don't feel like, oh, I could have got it all if I would have went a different route.
So here's the big distinction, Jeff, and this is really important, is that HighLevel is for agencies. It's not for businesses. Okay? So if you are an agency, there's really no good reason for you to be signing up as a sub account of somebody else unless you have no intention of using HighLevel for service delivery. So the only reason a sub account makes sense for you to sign up as an agency is if you are just using it for your own agency as sales tool, sales process for your agency, and you have no intention of having your own customers on the platform. If you have your own customers on the platform, you should sign up for HighLevel directly so that you have the full capabilities of the tool to act as an agency, to have your own accounts under you. Otherwise, so to me, anybody who's out there selling an agency a sub account, so if you were an agency and I'm selling you a sub account to be under my account on HighLevel, I'm really doing you a disservice if I have not really clearly explained to you what I just explained to you. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people doing people a disservice out there, unfortunately. So you need to understand that if you are on HighLevel as an agency, and you expect at any point that you are going to be using HighLevel as part of your service delivery to customers. So I want to have accounts under me. I want to have my customers using HighLevel under my platform. You really need to be on HighLevel directly. You do not want to be a sub account of anybody else. Okay, so that's the first thing to understand very clearly, is if you are an agency, you should be signing up with HighLevel. Okay, you should not be signing up with somebody else who's then setting you up as a sub account.
Right.
Okay. So that's the big distinction there.
Okay. So from the business perspective, so you're speaking with a local business, right? You're pitching them as an agency, and let's say before the close, they go online and they learn about HighLevel, and they see that it's kind of the same thing. So for the business owner, we're talking about now, who's looking at they're not looking to sign anyone else up. They're not looking to be an agency. They just want to be a restaurant, whatever they are, right? A hair salon, whatever the thing is. But they're simply looking at it maybe from a cost point, and they're saying, "Oh, look, I get all those features for $100, and you're offering it for $200." So is it just basically explaining, well, we're setting it up for you? Is that the differentiator?
Well, so technically they should not be able to sign up with HighLevel directly. I mean, they may go and set up an account, but really you can probably just get in touch with HighLevel and say, "Hey, look, that's a business that's trying to sign up with you directly. There's actually supposed to be a customer of mine," and HighLevel will most likely get in touch with them and say, "Hey, look, we don't work with businesses directly. We work only with agencies. So if you're not an agency, this is not for you." So
got it.
That's one thing. But then the other thing is that ideally what you're going to do with HighLevel is you're going to put your own brand into the platform. So you will be selling HighLevel not as HighLevel. You will be selling HighLevel as jeffsmarketingplatform.com.
Okay. So
that they're not coming and seeing HighLevel, they're coming and seeing your marketing platform. Okay, so that's the other real big thing. And then if for some reason though that you were, you got to the point where you were saying, "Hey, look, I'm thinking about signing up on this on my own. I could just sign up with them directly." I would have that conversation with them. Hey, HighLevel is actually it's an agency, only tool, all that stuff. If they still were like insistent and we're kind of like arguing with you on, honestly, hey, sorry, man, looks like we're not a fit. Love you to death. Have a great life. The only reason I say that is if you're explaining those things to them and they're still just like, no, I'm going to save my money and try and go do this end around by signing up with HighLevel directly. It's just not a good customer. I mean, I would not spend my time with it.
Okay. It's if you go to most of the YouTube channels, like let's say Chris, I haven't looked at all your videos. I've already seen a bunch of like Christine's, for example, right? Christine Queen. I think you'll see a lot of that presenting it as, if you're a business or you're whatever, you're crazy not to sign up. Maybe she doesn't say it that way. I'm not sure. But like a business out there looking for tools to run their business, I think that it looks really attractive to them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The only people that should be seeing HighLevel directly are agencies or affiliates.
Gotcha.
So those are the only two people that should be seeing HighLevel directly out there in the marketplace. I would not, to me, I would not spend a lot of time being too concerned about this, other than I would put your own brand on the platform.
Got it.
So that when you're selling to them, you're not presenting HighLevel. You should not be presenting that.
Okay. And putting your own brand means step up to that next, right? Because you can't put your own brand on that first one, can you?
No, correct. On the first one, that's just for you to use to start setting up and understand the platform and run your own business using the tools, so that you can take advantage of the tools for your agency. But as soon as you want to start delivering services through the tools, you need to, or selling it as its own software platform with your own brand and stuff like that, then you have to step up to those upper levels. Yep.
Okay. That makes sense. I got a different question. You have somebody else waiting, or is it okay?
Go for it.
All right. So the next question is regard to migration. So like, for example, I have a website that's up on another platform and I want to migrate all that one over to HighLevel, but with as minimal downtime as I can.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all this and go, okay, first I want to move the domain into Cloudflare, rather than connecting it there. We're not actually just host it there because it just makes sense, it seems. Then there's the professional email that's out somewhere else. Then there's the setting up the email, what are they called, DMARC records and these different things. And just, is there a specific order to go with that migration for the minimal downtime or to get the quickest way? I'm not clear on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, my recommendation would be that you, like, if you're not technical with all this stuff with domain management and all that type of stuff, I would just hire somebody to do it for you. I mean, to be real honest with you, like, I don't touch any of that stuff myself. Because,
oh, you don't? Okay.
Gotcha. No, absolutely not. No. And there's a bazillion people out there that can help you with that for very little money. So, but what I would say to you, just to give you the Cliff Notes version. So like, let's take a website as an example. Domain management and website are two different things, right? So your website is just a bunch of files that can be seen on the internet through a browser. Your domain is the service that tells people, hey, when you type in this name, point to that website right now, right?
Yeah.
So you can build a copy of your website, which is what you're doing when you're migrating. If you can either migrate hosting, or you can essentially recreate a website. Like, let's say you have a WordPress website now, but you want to rebuild it in HighLevel, whatever, right? You can essentially make a copy of that website in the new platform, wherever you're moving it to. Once it's good, it's tested, you know that it's all there, everything's ready to rumble. Then you tell the domain, stop pointing here, start pointing there, right? So the website is no longer sitting on these servers. The website is sitting on these servers, right? So that's how you make sure there's really no downtime, is you just make sure that you got that website fully up and running, it's ready to go. And then you tell the domain settings, hey, stop looking here. When somebody types in www.leverage.com, start going there. So that's how you make sure that there's very, very little downtime. Okay. But again, I would never try and do any of that myself. You could hire somebody for, probably $50 or whatever, and just say, hey, take care of the domain settings for me. In terms of migrating the website, that would take a little bit more time, but
Okay.
it shouldn't be very expensive.
Okay. That's
cool.
it. Yep. And the last question?
Yep.
A short one. When you go through the platform, there's the main recommendations seem to be the SMTP for Mailgun, and then I caught wind of somewhere that Go High Level is going to be using SendGrid in the background.
Yep.
So because of knowing that, it just seems like logical sense to me to set it up under SendGrid now, rather than for someone that's setting it up at this point. It seems logical. Is that logical?
I think so. I think if you're working with SendGrid, so I haven't worked with SendGrid directly in a long time. I used to be a big customer of theirs when they were in their early days. Okay. My impression is that with SendGrid, you may have a little bit more management responsibilities on your part, that if you're with Mailgun, they may take some of those management responsibilities off of your lap a little bit. So just as an example, and again, I haven't worked with SendGrid in a long, long time. So, but when I worked with SendGrid, I was sending out millions and millions of emails a month for I had all of my Kutenda customers on there. So I had hundreds and hundreds of businesses that I was sending email through SendGrid for. It required me to have 2 full-time people that all they did was manage my relationship with SendGrid to keep me out of trouble. Because somebody on my platform would send an email to a bad address that was a spam address because they had gotten some spam thing and loaded it up into their system, and SendGrid would want to shut down everything because we look like spammers. And so we would have to work with their team on, hey, that email service provider, that ISP now sees you as a spammer. Here's what we got to do to get your relationship back in good health. Here's what you got to do to that customer. And those were like conversations that I had to have with SendGrid. And then I had to go have a conversation with a customer. Whereas I think with Mailgun, they've built more of that management process in for you. And so they will be taking care of more of that back end stuff for you. That means that you have less control. So if it was me back in Kutenda days where I have a bunch of customers and I'm making a bunch of money and I can afford to have people managing it, I may want that control of those relationships and those conversations. And it may be worth it for me to, invest in that by having those people on my team, versus with Mailgun, if I only have a handful of customers, I would probably just go with Mailgun. So my recommendation is probably to follow their lead and say, hey, to start, while you don't have that many customers, you may just want to go with Mailgun. It may be just an easier option for you.
Okay, that's my questions.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Abigail, you want to jump on and give it a shot here? Let's see here. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. And thank you so much for holding this.
Absolutely.
I couldn't hear your answer because most of the time I had 2 people speaking and one was delayed. So
no problem.
I had to tell you to repeat it, but my main issue is with Google My Business, that's the Google Business Profile. Once you optimize it, you have optimized it. It's their assets. You've optimized it for them. So how do I actually, so I don't know how I can productize it so that it's an asset for me, not assets, rather than an asset for them, because if they stop using my service right now, they have a good Google My Business, well optimized right now. So it feels that it won't be maintained like I do post weekly, but that's not going to impact them seriously immediately. So it's not like taking the service from them. So they do have an asset.
I don't think there's much you can do about that one. I think that just is what it is. So what kind of customers are these?
Physical therapists that own local clinics.
So I think that the best answer to this from a business strategy perspective on what to do next
Yeah.
is to build your own physical therapy media site or directory where it's an asset that you can control.
Okay.
So because right now, yeah, you're optimizing Google and you're optimizing Google for their business. Those are
Yes.
two things that are completely out of your control. So I mean, it's just like the SEO business. If you did SEO, once you optimize the customer, you've done all that work for them, but it's their assets and you can't really do much about it at that point. So the way that you can get yourself into the asset and access game is if you have your own asset that you are then ranking and getting traffic to and getting visibility to, that you can then sell to your customers as a place that they can have a directory listing on your business, and they can, pay you on a monthly basis for that listing. But if they stop paying you, that listing gets completely taken away, right? So that way you're in the asset business. You own the asset. Right now, you don't own any asset. You don't own Google and you don't own their business and their brand. So you've got to build your asset to really in that whole kind of SEO space, which Google My Business is just kind of like a version of SEO, like to have something of substance in that business, you've got to build your own assets so that you can control that.
So that's not a good product to pursue then. Is that so? That's
well, no, I think I love you having your own asset. I mean, if you have your own physical therapist directory site that you can get ranked well because you know how to do SEO, and then you can sell businesses profiles on that site. That's a great model. I mean, that's a model that's worked very, very well for a lot of people. I love that model.
I don't have my own physical therapy directory site. What I do for physical therapy is I optimize their Google My Business and maintain it. And then I also put them in local listings, local directories. So I guess there's no way of having it, productizing it. And
I'm just saying that I'm saying, I mean, you could build your own directory site. Okay. Why not? Why? It sounds to me like you're ruling that out. Why rule that out? Why not build your own directory site?
Oh, is it that easy to do that? I don't know.
Super easy.
Okay.
Super easy. Yeah.
I have to take a look at that then.
Yeah, there's a ton of WordPress themes and other tools out there and stuff that, I mean, yeah, you could launch a directory site here in the next week. Wouldn't be hard.
I'd like to know more about that. So.
Yeah. If you just do a little search around or get into our community and ask people for, suggestions of directory templates and tools that they like. I mean, you'll get a bunch of suggestions. And then the other alternative I would say is, and so I love assets like that. I mean, that's why I have my media site. I have their San Diego, right? I love my media site. The other direction is start using like HighLevel to offer more types of services that are getting customers onto, software that they're paying you for. So you could offer Google My Business, but you could also offer a reputation and review service and things like that. And that can be done through HighLevel, and it's software. And now they're paying you every month for access to that software. And there's additional services that you can roll out using that software that way. So those are kind of the two directions in this business. I mean, in the agency space, you've either got the time and material, time and talent, which is what you're doing right now. And it sounds like you're doing a great job, or building an asset or software as a service and trying to make more of your services more based on technology instead of time and talent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay.
I know I just threw a lot at you. I know.
Yeah, I have to go think about this. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, again, ask in our community or come back on these calls. I'm happy to help. Okay.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Let's see here. I see Daniel. Right now you're not on camera. If you'd like to come on, There you are. How you doing, sir? Oh, hold on. You're
Good.
muted.
I didn't even know I was trying to come on
Oh, okay.
live, honestly. But forget it. I'm here. I
All
actually
right.
did ask. Is this music too loud in the background?
Oh, can't hear it.
All right, cool. So I actually did type a question down in the chat. I said, I asked how could you go about systemization and productization just starting out if possible? Because I was really thinking that you have to like actually provide the service first to get a better understanding of what it, to create templates and things of that sort to even have assets.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that's a nice place to start because you get that experience like firsthand and that can help you like, get your service or get your productized service really dialed in. But I don't know, are you familiar with HighLevel? Are you using HighLevel?
Right.
Are you using that platform, the software
Yeah.
platform? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So with HighLevel, I mean, let's
Yep.
take an example like the missed call text back service. You don't really need to develop any assets or have any experience or anything like that to offer it because it's so simple. It's like set up a phone number, somebody calls that
Right.
phone number. If the person doesn't respond, it immediately shoots a text out that says, "Hey, sorry, I missed your call. How can I help you?" Right? Like that's like as simple as it can get. So there are a number of like super simple services like that you just don't need. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have a ton of experience to offer those.
Right.
So I would just start with services like that, where you can just keep it simple.
Right. I guess I'm more so speaking to things such as like having templates for like maybe whether it be email or certain workflows and things of that sort. Like those are things that you would say, right, you have to go through, and ideally the more you offer the service and the more you speak with clients and things of that sort, you begin to just understand what those, what things convert versus which don't. Same thing with ad templates and things of that sort.
Yep. With those, that's absolutely true. Yeah. So if you're going to go, let's say you're going to set up like follow-up marketing campaigns for restaurants or something like that, then yeah, the more experience you get on, hey, here are the offers that work. Here's the format of the email that works, like that type of stuff. That's how you get that really differentiated value for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that was really my only question. I definitely understand, like how you said, with certain services, you don't need no experience. HighLevel pretty much supports all of that. I was just more so talking about the things like paid ad templates and things of that sort, things that you kind of got to go through and just continue to refine and things of that sort. So that was pretty much my only question. I've been consuming a lot of your content.
Cool.
I'm very grateful. I appreciate your consistency and all the value you add. So I'm
Thank you.
definitely I'm appreciative. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for being on the call. I appreciate it. All right, let's see
All right,
here.
no problem. And how often are these? Because I'm actually a part of I'm a part of the community. How often are these calls?
These are every other week, every other Friday.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
So,
And
yeah,
I had some troubles registering for the office hour calls. I don't know why it wouldn't let me register or whatever the case may be, but it was giving me some trouble inside the community there, inside the circle, I believe.
Yeah, I'll take a look at your profile afterwards and see if there's anything I can do. But it should be so if you got into Circle and you created a profile in Circle, you should be automatically registered for the office hours calls. And so you may be registered and just not realize it, and may start getting the reminders for it. Hopefully that's the case. But I'll take a look at your profile and check it out.
Okay. All right,
Awesome.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Mike, I see you back there, but I see an empty screen. So I'm going to take a couple questions out of the queue here. And then when you get back, okay, let's see here. Prospecting methods. Hey, Travis, it's good to see you, sir. Prospecting method. David says, just starting out, what are the best prospecting methods to scale quickly? I see Facebook and cold outreach in the training. Any other channels, or are these best to start with? Okay. So David, best is a little bit subjective. So I'm going to tell you my opinion and then tell you some kind of ways to evaluate this. Okay. If you've never run Facebook ads before, if you've never done any content marketing before, and you don't have any money to spend and you don't have any money to lose, then good old cold calling and cold emailing and trying to ping somebody on LinkedIn, like those are great prospecting methods, right? Because they're cheap. I mean, cheap. They're actually very expensive in terms of your time that you have to commit to them. But if you're in a position where you've got more time than you do money, then those are great, proven, tried and true prospecting approaches. Okay. I personally hate all of those. Personally hate all of those now. And I say now because I did those very, very effectively for, 10 plus years. Okay. And they absolutely can still work. The reason why I say I hate those now is because it's not the way the world works anymore. Okay. When I got started as an entrepreneur, dating myself here, there was no Facebook. And so cold calling was, that was kind of your option. You had direct mail, cold calling, running TV commercials, radio commercials, or renting out billboards, right? Or going and knocking on doors. Like those were your options. And the world was used to those options. Like when you cold called somebody back then, people just picked up their phone. Like a lot of people didn't even have caller ID, right? So I wouldn't even know who was calling me. My phone was just ringing and I knew I, didn't want to miss an opportunity. So I'd pick up the phone. People don't just pick up their phone anymore. I don't pick up my phone. There's zero cases where a random caller calls my phone and I pick up the phone. And it's embarrassing, but if I showed you my voicemails right now, 65 unlistened to voicemails right now that I will never listen to. I don't listen to voicemails. I don't call people back. I don't get cold email to anything and respond to it. Like, it's just not the way the world works anymore. It's flip-flop. It's flip-flopped, right? Now all the information is online and I, as a consumer, can go and research. I can go and watch people's YouTube channels. I can go find them on Instagram. I can do all that stuff. I can build a relationship with them before I ever buy anything from them, before I make a buying decision, right? And so that's the way as a consumer I want to buy now. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want your cold call. I don't want that stuff. I want to recognize that I have a problem and go and do some research or see an ad that describes a problem for me that I didn't even know I had and go, ooh, yeah, I need to click on that. What's that all about? And follow that trail. That's the way that the world works now. So the best way by far to prospect in today's world is not to prospect. It's to put value out into the world, put content out into the world, pay to promote that content if you need to using ads. That is by far and away the best way to prospect. If you are not familiar with doing that stuff, it can seem a little intimidating and it can seem maybe like it's a little bit slower, although I would argue that it is absolutely not. But it can feel that way because you're like, man, but if I can just pick up the phone, I can just call somebody today and get a hold of them today. It just rarely actually works out that way. So the best way by far is to put content out into the world and let people respond to it. And that can be a video on YouTube and it's just organic and you're just letting people come to it. Or it could be a post on Twitter or a post on a blog or a post on Facebook where you're adding some value and you're saying, hey, chiropractors, do you know that there are X, Y, and Z things you can do to start getting more prospects, getting more patients immediately? Here's, number one, number two, number three, add some good value and say at the bottom of that post, hey, this is what I do. I help chiropractors get more patients. If you're interested in learning more, head over to my website and get in touch. By far and away, more the way the world works today and wants to work and is going to continue moving further and further in that direction. So if you're an entrepreneur starting out today and you are not investing every bit of your energy in understanding how the world works today and going forward and investing and learning those strategies and techniques, you're just making a big mistake. You're just making a big mistake. And you may not have, like I said, you may not have 2 nickels right now. And so you're like, I got to do all the free stuff. Great. Post on Twitter every single day, add value. Post on Instagram every single day, add value. Post on Facebook every single day, add value. Post on YouTube every single day, add value. They're all free. You don't need to spend a penny on any of those things. It will take you longer because you can't spend a penny. So you're not going to be able to amplify the content that you put out there. But it's the way the world works today. And it's your best strategy for success. Okay. So yeah. And D said, crazy thing is every method is working for someone. Absolutely. They all will work. Everything will work to some degree or another. But this is kind of like, if you were deciding today to get into a new business and that new business was a business based on coal and oil and all that versus deciding, okay, I'm going to get into a new business and getting into a business based on software, artificial intelligence, blockchain, right? Like, why in the world would you start making your investment today in those old dying industries versus, investing in something that's new, growing, accelerating, and in line with the way the world is going, right? So that's my answer to you, David. I know that may not be the most satisfying answer for you, but and then if I had to pick one, so David, if you are in the agency business, okay, because not everybody on this call is in the agency business, so I don't want to assume, but maybe you are. So if you're in the agency business, my number one prospecting strategy, my favorite right now, build up your Instagram profile and use my Instagram prospecting strategy, which is the simple summary of it is that you just want to share content from businesses that you love and tag them in that post, and not a normal feed post, but a story. So use Instagram stories specifically. Okay. So let me just show you here. We do this all day, every day. So you can watch our account if you want to. So here's my There San Diego Instagram account. So Instagram.com/There San Diego. Okay. If you go to the stories up there, you're going to see that we are constantly sharing content from other businesses. Okay. This is not our original content. It's content from other businesses. And when we do it, we're tagging those businesses. Every time we share that content, the owner of this Instagram account, as in the owner of the business that we're tagging, is going to get a little message in their inbox saying that we mentioned them. It's going to show up in their inbox. So they're going to see every day, hey, there's San Diego mentioned us. There's San Diego shared something about us, whatever, right? By far and away, the easiest way to quickly add value and get those business owners contacting you, because what most of them do is they ping you right back and go, hey, thanks for sharing our content. Thanks for sharing our restaurant. Thanks for sharing our whatever. And now you're in a conversation with them. And you're doing it by adding value, and you're building an asset because you're building up your Instagram account in your local market that's getting lots of attention, and will become a very, very nice, valuable asset for you. Okay. So I hope that helps you, David. So generally, I gave you my answer, and then specifically, I gave you my favorite specific technique right now. I hope that helps you. Mike Chapman, you want to come on board, sir? How's it going?
Hey, hiya, Mike.
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah,
Good. How can I help?
I've been playing hooky for a long time, but I've been studying.
Good.
Uh,
Good.
Anyway, I noticed back in summer you promoted Site Ranker Pro with Neil and Robert,
Yeah.
and the rent a website program with your playbooks was
Yep.
part of the package if you bought, and I did.
Yep. Awesome.
Wanted to ask you some particular questions about the rent a website program.
Go for it.
So I have your service offerings here in front of me: attract, connect, engage, and ignite.
Yep.
And I see it's content-based type delivery system, or the value you're adding is the content type of asset.
Yep.
Do you include any kind of guarantee with your prospects that come on board saying, if for some reason you don't feel this is a good fit after 30 days, you can bow out and get your money back?
Yes. So I've always had I've never put my customers into contracts that they couldn't get out of, ever. So my contracts have always been, give us 30 days notice, and you're out. If they were getting out because we screwed up the service, the language that we put in there was, hey, if you're ever unhappy with our service, please let us know and give us 30 days to correct it. And if we can't, then we'll let you go. We'll go our separate ways, and we'll refund your money. So that's always been our service agreement, and it's always done really good by us, because people feel very comfortable with it, and we get people who are intending to be with us long term, and it works out. It works out really well.
Yes, it seems like pretty much locks the deal as far as getting them to commit to at least come on for a month.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what we always said, Mike, and I think this is very important. I just went through my sales script training with a group this morning. Our sales script and all of our communication has always been around, we work with customers for the long haul. So we're essentially becoming your marketing partner in your business. So if you're not intending to work with us for the long term, please don't come on board. Like, we're not going to get you results overnight, so there's no point in coming on board. So the people who are coming on board with the expectation of they're with us. This is you're going to be with us for years, right? So so that gets us the right kind of customer in the first place. And then that service agreement then just says, well, hey, look, just like we're asking you to make a relationship with us, we're trying to have a relationship with you. We're not gonna lock you into something that isn't working for you, right? So if it's not working for you, let us know, give us an opportunity to correct it. And if it's not something that we can correct, then we'll go our separate ways. So it's all about being very clear up front, being very open and direct up front, and truly in our sales process, trying to develop a relationship that we say, hey, this is going to be a good fit to last. And so that's really important, because then we're getting the right kinds of customers on board to begin with.
Yes. One of the points that's definitely worth delineating a little further, I think, here is that you're wanting to be their marketing partner, not their business partner.
Correct.
So, in other words, you don't want to have to go sideways into the consulting role upon demand or upon request.
Absolutely.
You want to avoid that like the plague. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the best ways you do that is you make your offer defined, attractive, rich with assets that help them, but also outwardly expressing that you're not a consultant.
Absolutely. We just have very clear boundaries. We offer, I mean, as much as possible, we offer these products, right?
Yes.
So it's services, but they're products. They have boundaries and price points.
Yes.
And then if you ask us, well, do you also do this? No, we do these things in these boundaries and in these products. We don't offer those other things. We
Yes.
just don't. It's not a can you pay us enough and will we give it a shot? It's just we just don't offer those things.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. I mean, if you go to Tesla and you ask them for a Jeep, no, we don't offer a Jeep.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Very, very good. Yeah. I appreciate that distinction.
You bet.
I know that it's a very, very big part of your model. So I thought I'd bring it up at least once here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad that you did, Mike. I think that one of the single biggest mistakes that service providers make is giving themselves unlimited flexibility, because you're a service provider. You've got this service mindset of, oh, I can help and I can hustle and I'm smart and I can figure it out. All those things are true. They're just a terrible business model.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you specifically about, well, I did notice that you recommended the SiteRanker Pro, and that particular product is a WordPress plugin. So I did go back and check over the last year in my emails, and I do not see that you ever recommended the Donvu website templates. They're built in Divi theme, very nice looking, professional looking websites, but are you familiar with those?
I'm not.
Okay. So as far as templated websites go, it looks like about the best that I have seen. Anyway, I may want to share that one on the Facebook group and have you just take a look.
Yeah, do it. Absolutely. I'd love to see.
Okay. Yeah, wonderful. But they're built to, and I noticed, how long has HighLevel had WordPress hosting?
Just very recently. They just rolled that out very recently. But they're
Okay.
making a big investment in it. They definitely want to be a big player in that space.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I'm hosting. I've got like 5 WordPress sites on there now. I just started migrating stuff over there. It's all working great.
It looks like, well, I don't know what these original service offerings were built on. And was there a website involved? Attract, Connect, Engage, and Ignite.
Yep.
Those were website deliverable also?
Yeah, WordPress.
Okay.
WordPress sites, yep. So we just built, a handful of templated themes, and we just gave people very distinct choices. I mean, very, very discrete choices. So you choose one of these 5 themes, one of these 7 color patterns, one of these 3, whatever,
Right.
and then boom, 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 boom. We launch your site, and you're up and running.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. I'm going through your playbook and reading all the information here. Getting
Awesome.
ready to finally launch this thing here.
I love it. Well,
Do you want us to interact with you over Facebook to check our package?
I think that's good. I also love, so Daniel mentioned earlier, the Circle community. I would love everybody to get in that Circle community. I'm moving my communities of customers as much as possible off of Facebook and onto Circle, because it's a platform that I control and, can manage the relationships with you guys better. So, and have much more organization to it and all that stuff. So ideally get in there and start asking questions in there. But in the meantime, the Leverage Facebook group is fine as well.
Okay, sounds good. The link for Circle, is that available in the Facebook community?
Yeah, actually. So, well, here, let me type it into if you go to special.com/office-hours. So I just put a link into the YouTube chat there.
Okay.
So if you go to that link, that will take you and sign you up, give you the opportunity to sign up on Circle in our public community. So just like that Leverage Facebook group is a public group, and it will also automatically register you for these office hours calls and stuff like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, Mike.
You bet. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Daniel, thank you for being patient on this one. asks, can you speak on automatic onboarding using Go HighLevel? Yeah, so onboarding, there's a couple of things to think about, and I've got some frameworks on this. I've actually got it in my workflow snapshot. So if you're in my services that scale mastermind, in my workflow snapshot, there's an onboarding snapshot in there. So there's a couple of things really important with onboarding to keep in mind in whatever process that you're designing, automated or not, or partially automated or whatever, is that one, that you need to fulfill the promise of what you sold. And just what I mean by that is a customer's confidence will be lowest right after they pay you, right? They pay you and they're just like, did I just get had, you know? And so you want to make sure that you are fulfilling the promise. So if you're selling agency services, which Daniel, it sounds like you are, you sold them that you were going to be, that there's going to be some sort of expertise and you're going to be able to guide them, give them tools to help them improve their business and all that good stuff, right? So you want to follow up probably with some content and stuff like that. So like a welcome video. This is the way I've always done it with, like I did with Kutena. It was a welcome video from me saying, hey, thank you so much for signing up and coming on board. We really look forward to working with you to help you to grow your business. Let me tell you what to expect from here, okay? Just the fact that I'm reaching out to them and telling them what to expect gives them a tremendous amount of confidence, right? It's like, oh, okay, this is a real person. It's a real business. I didn't get screwed, you know, whatever, right? So then what I would do is I would direct them to a membership area. So you can do this in HighLevel. The membership area had several videos from me and my team explaining, hey, here are our next steps. Here, you know, and we did a little bit of background. For the first video was a little bit of a background of our company, our origin story, our purpose, all that good stuff to try and get them tied into our company and who we were. And then it was like, okay, here's what you got to do now. And the first thing that they had to do, and I think that the first thing that you'll probably want to do for most of your customers is there's got to be some sort of onboarding survey that you want them to complete where you're going to collect some information, whatever information you need from them to get their accounts really up and running and start their service and all that good stuff. You want to collect that from them. So we would send them an onboarding survey. And then as soon as that onboarding survey was complete, was the next step in our process of activating their service. And that's the key word, activation, activation. You want to get them activated, which by that, I mean, they're paying for X, whatever it takes to get them from paying for X to actually experiencing X, you want to make that as fast as possible, right? So that, again, I don't feel like I got taken to the cleaners. So if I paid for X and it takes me months to get my stuff activated, I don't feel good about the experience. So you want to get them to activation to the point where they're experiencing the benefit of whatever you're offering as quickly as possible. So in our case, if they return that survey, we then had an account manager give them a call and say, hey, thank you so much for getting that survey done. Here's what we're going to do now to get your services launched. And here's what you can expect, time frame, the things we need from you, all that type of stuff. So it's setting expectations, communicating clearly, all that good stuff. And then we would make that push to get them activated. Now, knowing that activation is the most important thing, if they don't fill out that survey, because a lot of customers won't, they'll pay the money and they'll get the survey, they decide it looks like too much of a headache, they'll put it on the back burner, they'll forget about it, yada, yada. We would start then following up with them pretty aggressively to say, hey, look, we don't have your survey back. We really need to get that. We want to get your services activated as quickly as possible. Because again, it's the activation. Activated customers experiencing the benefits don't churn, okay? Customers that don't get activated churn. So whatever you got to do to chase that down, to get them to the point where you can get them activated, you want to do that. So the great thing about the automation, Daniel, especially with HighLevel, if they don't fill out that survey, your automation will keep running like, hey, pester these guys, email, SMS, schedule a phone call to them, whatever. We got to get them going. But if they do fill out the survey, you take them out of that follow-up sequence and you go right to the next steps of activation. Okay? So I hope that helps you. And I would recommend check out the onboarding workflow that I have for you in there. Okay. If you're in the mastermind. Okay. Let's see here. Melissa Johansson, Mike tuning in a bit late, but I wanted to ask a question. Melissa, feel free. Oh, wait, here it is right here. Your opinion for someone starting out and debating lead gen for real estate, having my first client interested, or more activity-based MSP and going the media restaurants route, which would you do? I would absolutely, I believe, do media and activity-based. Okay, you are building an asset when you do media and activity-based. And you are basing the success of your service less on results. For those reasons, I've always loved more asset-based and activity-based services. Now, the exception, Melissa, is that you could turn the lead generation into an asset and activity-based service for real estate agents that could be pretty darn nice. So the way that you could do that is if you develop your own asset that is generating the leads. So if instead of generating the leads for their specific business, you generate your own media asset that is then generating leads for real estate, and now you can sell off those leads to the real estate service providers, the agents. That's a much more attractive model than doing lead gen on a one-on-one basis with your first client interested, right? Lead gen does not have to be a bad business. It's just the way that most people do it. It is a bad business. If you develop assets and you sell access to those assets, it can be an awesome business. Just look at many of the lead generation businesses that are out there. To point to a couple that I really love, not necessarily in real estate here, but let me just show you these guys because I love the way they're doing things. Is oops, hold on one second. Sorry, guys. Lawn Love. I love these guys. So these guys have a great asset and activity based model. And so what I mean by that is that these guys have an asset. They've built up this Lawn Love lead generation system. So hire a world-class lawn care service. So if I'm a homeowner looking for lawn service, I come in here, hit this to see my price, fill out my info, and now I'm an awesome lead, right? So they've got a great lead gen brand and service here. But if you are a service provider, okay, if you are a service provider, let's see if we go down here, probably Lawn Pro right here, apply, okay? So start making 1,000 plus a week, set your own flexible schedule with new lawn care jobs available daily. So if I'm a lawn care service provider, these guys are now essentially selling me leads, but they've also got some, I know these guys also have like some tools and stuff like that. So they actually put you, I think, onto their software platform and kind of hook you in that way as well. So this is an excellent model. You can see all their locations. So, if you were, ambitious about that real estate space and you wanted to build your own assets, you can build a real nice business. Again, it doesn't have to be a bad model doing lead generation. It's just the way that most people do it. It's a bad model. Okay. I hope that helps you, Melissa. Kyle, my man, you ready? Yes. Welcome back, Kyle. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. It's great to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Hold on. Before you get going, I got to tell everybody out there, I think, Kyle, you have one of the best newsletters in the business. And I think that everybody should subscribe to your newsletter to see how it should be done. I think it's fantastic. You're doing a great job.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
You bet.
That means a lot coming from you. So you're going to go to, I don't actually know where you go to subscribe, guestgetter.co. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. Okay. So this one's, there's a little bit of emotion in this one, I think, because, do you know Conversionly?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, I have at once been so impressed by them while feeling like I just suck so hard at like implementing, the systems. And so I just got off a sales call with them. Very like I've just been super impressed by them, and I kind of just wanted to see if you had any thoughts on like it's basically like a done with you and a done like it's done with you do it yourself thing, and just setting up a whole lead gen and lead nurture process,
So
which
these guys?
yeah, those guys. And so yeah, I don't know, I wanted to get your sage wisdom and advice,
Sure.
and see if because you've been on the Go High Level podcast, and I know I believe the founder of this has been as well, and so I kind of thought you might sort of know about them. So yeah, I thought I'd see.
I don't know. I don't have any insights into them specifically, how good they are at what they do, anything like that. I'm familiar with the brand. I thought that they did a nice job here with their value prop and their site and all that good stuff. And they're saying the right things and, and all that good stuff. But I don't have any experience with them directly to be able to tell you,
Okay.
anything. But is there anything specific like challenges you're running into, or any questions you kind of run into about how they're doing things or anything like that? Or
no, well, let me pivot to something that is related, but I think you'd have a really good answer for, and I'm sure other people could probably relate. So the main problem in you put out a story this week about like the most important thing you need to be doing is focusing on sales and marketing to fill your pipeline, right?
yes.
And the most that has been my biggest challenge for a long time, which is just getting volume into the front end of my business. I know that I have a service that delivers great results. I know that it's needed, blah, blah, blah. And so I sometimes ask myself, why is this still a bottleneck for me? Why, I know how to like write stuff. I know how to, run ads. I can write a good cold email. And if I'm being really honest, I think maybe there's like some belief or something in my mind that doesn't actually, I don't want to load up my calendar with appointments. I don't know if I want to load up my life with clients and all of their, problems and needs, and which sounds like, hearing that come from my mouth sounds like terrible and totally at odds with what my goals are. And so I just thought I'd kind of like, just see if there was a possibility we could address those like limiting beliefs or mindset issues. And I guess I wonder if you've ever had anything similar, or anything would be much appreciated.
I've never experienced a limiting belief in my life.
It's amazing. What's your secret?
Can I show your site to people, Kyle?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Cool. I think Kyle is doing an excellent job with his site, with his brand. So here it is, Guest Getter, art and science of getting guests to your restaurant. The content he's putting out, newsletter he's putting out, all the good stuff, I think is just excellent. So yeah, I think anybody looking to understand at least what I think is the right approach and some really good execution of it, I think that this is he's a fantastic role model. So
thank you.
So that being said, though, Kyle is saying, well, yeah, but I'm not filling my pipeline as much as I want to fill my pipeline, right? So let's talk about that. So, okay. So first of all, okay, so there's you have even described this as, hey, there's some psychology going on here, Mike. So when you say that you're not filling your pipeline enough or getting the results that you want, how is it that you are measuring that? How do you know that that's the case? So is this you're tracking like a good daily scorecard of metrics, and you're saying, hey, my pipeline is simply not growing, Mike, or what is the sign?
The sign is that I like what I'll do is I'll do bursts of outreach, and then I like start to hate it, and then I'm like, now I want to go back to building. I love building, and so it's just kind of this like it's an inability to repeat successful actions, basically, like actions that I've taken that have generated results. I get a result, and then I for some reason step off the gas pedal.
Okay.
And I have done this since I've been an entrepreneur for like 4 years now.
Yep.
I do the stuff I got to do, get a client, and then I lean back. I don't know what that is.
Okay, cool. I think that this is a excellent conversation for everybody. My guess is because anybody who I think anybody can relate to this, whether they are acknowledging it or not. The fact that you're acknowledging it is incredibly important, because a lot of people will just not acknowledge that they're even doing it. So this does come down to psychology, and then your psychology impacts your behaviors, right? And I love this stuff. So I'll geek out on you for a minute here, and hopefully it benefits people, because I've been in this exact position myself. And I would say always, to some extent, I find myself in this position, although I would say I am less there now than I've ever been in my life. And so maybe there's some lessons as to why that is. So the way that I learned this from Tony Robbins, that I think is super valuable, it's always been, his stuff has always just been so valuable for me, is that we all have a thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And that thermostat gives us our comfort range.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go below the temperature that you're comfortable, the heat kicks in, and you're like, oh, Jesus, I can't do that. So, it looks like you live in a nice place, Kyle. If you ever stopped doing the things that were necessary to support that minimum lifestyle that you think is the acceptable minimal lifestyle, and next thing you know, you're starting to look at, maybe I can't afford my rent and I'm going to be homeless and stuff like that, most likely that furnace would kick on and say, hey, Kyle, you got to get back up here, man. Right? Because that would be unacceptable to you and to your psychology of who you are. The image of who you are as a person will not let you go below that. You will freak out and start working your ass off doing whatever you have to do to get back up. Okay? So that is more easy for most people to understand. It's more easy for people to understand, oh, Mike, yeah, no, if you were telling me I was about to be homeless, I would do anything to get out of that situation. That's that bottom thermostat. Most people understand pain and are motivated by pain much more clearly than they are by pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you have a thermostat. We all have a thermostat on the pleasure side of things as well. We all have some sort of psychological barrier, if you will. I don't even know that that's the right word, but where we go, okay, I'm comfortable enough. And so then the pressure comes off, and we don't feel the same urge to push and to run and to go for that next thing. Okay? And so what's the reason why behind that? And this is super, all this stuff, guys, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, man, this is entrepreneurs, all they should do is study psychology for like the first 10 years of their career, because this is the foundation of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because exactly what Kyle's saying, man, the dude's got all the talent in the world. He's got this amazing site. He's got this amazing service, all that type of stuff. But if his head isn't going to push for growth,
mm-hmm.
the company is not going to push for growth. I mean, it's just the psychology of the business owner drives the outcomes of the business. Okay? Just like the psychology of the household drives the state of the household. Is my house a mess? Is it clean? Am I putting good food in here for my kids or not? Like, I mean, that's all based on the psychology of the head of the household. It's just the way the world works. So you have some sort of comfort level threshold. And the question is, why is it what it is? And that is a whole can of worms that needs to be, understood in order for you to have the best chance of getting that threshold raised higher. Okay. So that could be, just as an example, things like, and these are very real things. These things may sound like a little bit silly, but these are very real things. It may be that your dad, Kyle, never made more than $100,000 a year and you feel guilty outperforming your dad. I don't know. I don't know what your relationship with your dad is and all that stuff, but a lot of guys have a lot of issues with, hey, my dad worked his ass off his entire life and he never made this much money. Who am I? Right? Mm-hmm. It may be that you're surrounded by friends that when you start getting to a point, your friends start going, Kyle, why are you working so hard, man? Why can't you just take it easy? Why don't you meet us out at the bar again? Why don't you, whatever? And you might start feeling the pull of, again, who am I to be different? Who am I to be special? Who am I, whatever, right? It could be that the vision of what you have to achieve is not exciting enough simply to motivate you. Mm-hmm. You may not realize that if you go from $100,000 a year to $500,000 a year in income, you may not realize that your life will be exponentially better in terms of the things that you can enjoy and do for other people that you love and all that. And so it may be simply that just because you're not connected enough to what the impact of that would be, you're just not fired up enough, right? And usually it's a combination of these things. And usually pain is the bigger motivator than pleasure. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I can tell you myself why I am feeling more past this than I ever have at any point in my life. And maybe it's helpful for you. You watched the video, I'm sure, I would guess, you watched the video where I talked about my experience with the Tony Robbins event where I created this image in my head of letting my kids down. Mm-hmm. Okay. I created so much pain with that image in my mind that, I mean, literally, like I right now, just the fact that I even brought it up, I start getting goosebumps and start, I created so much pain in that image in my head that it's like literally when my eyes open in the morning, it's like somebody's got a torch under my bed burning my ass if I don't get out of that bed and get running. Mm-hmm. Because the idea of letting them down is so painful to me. It's just, it's grinds my guts up. Combine that with when I was going through this whole experience of building my prior businesses, selling a business for millions of dollars, starting new businesses, getting a divorce, going through all of those experiences. I've always been somebody who's fascinated by psychology and observes psychology and observes my own psychology as much as possible. During that whole process, there was always conflict. I was never 100% congruent with who I was and how I wanted to be living my life. And that was being experienced in my relationship at home. My primary relationship was off, and it was off for 15 years. And we struggled and tried to make it work. And it's not because she's a bad human being or I'm a bad human being. I love her to death. She lives 2.5 blocks from here. There's no, we have a great relationship. But it was not congruent. We were not happy. In my businesses, I was not congruent because I had sold out mentally to the vision of Silicon Valley and what most people attribute success to, which is you raise lots of money, made lots of money, your company is bigger, you have more employees, you might go public, you might, all that stuff. I had bought into all of that, and none of that do I actually give a shit about. I really don't. And so I was in conflict because I was actually doing a good job of those things and I was making progress, but I did not like what I was building for myself. It wasn't that I didn't like the company I was building. I was very proud of what I was doing there. I'm saying what it was doing for me personally was not what I wanted. I never wanted to create myself a job where I was the CEO of a company where I had investors that I had to answer to and all that stuff. Like, that's not anything I ever wanted. And so in going through the process of selling that business, then reflecting on, well, what am I doing next and why am I doing it, and getting clear on all of this stuff, I've reached a point where I am super clear as to why the hell I am doing all of this. And, you know, to get more personal about it, like, you know, kind of like what I feel like my purpose is on this planet. And they're all congruent. Everything that I do every day is completely congruent with who I want to be and how I want to live. I literally, and this is kind of an emotional moment for me because my nephew just died, just 30 years old, in a helicopter crash. And so I just got back from Florida, and because I was down there, you know, being with my family. And when a 30-year-old kid dies that shouldn't have died, and it's somebody close to you, you can't help but, of course, reflect on what the hell is all this all about? What am I doing? How am I living? And I experienced for the first time in my life such a complete sense of peace and happiness that when I did that reflection, I was like, I just can't wait to get back home and just do what I freaking do every day. Like, I love what I'm doing. I love where I'm at. I love my struggles and my challenges, and I love my goals, and I love my potential. I love all of it so much. I'm living so congruently with how I want to live and who I want to be, and the business that I'm building reflects that, that all I want to do is grow, 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 and fulfill my potential. Not because I want to make more money. I want to make more money. I love money, but that's not why. It's the reason why is because I want to fulfill my potential. I want to have the impact that I can have. I want to have the impact on other people that I can have. I want my kids to see that they can live up to their potential, that they have a role model to do that. And so everything feels so right that all I want to do is wake up every day and go, 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 go. And it doesn't feel like work. I don't ever feel freaking tired. I don't ever feel burned out. I just feel like I just want to go. I wish that there was 10 days in the week so I could just work more and do more. And like I said, it doesn't even feel like work. When I say work, you know my work, Kyle. Going out to a restaurant tonight and having an awesome dinner is work, right? So everything is lined up. And that gives me this feeling of there's no ceiling. I just want to go, 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 man. Like, and I've got challenges and I got shit to figure out and whatever, but so what? Go, go, go. Because it's all about fulfilling my potential and having as much impact as I can. So it's psychology, and it's spending some time in the dirt, you know, digging around in that, right? And sometimes that's not fun, and sometimes you uncover some stuff you don't want to uncover. And, you know, I don't know enough about you to know, you know, some of those things that may be there. But that's what it is. You know, that's what it is. It's a matter of just kind of getting in there and figuring that out. It's pain and pleasure. They're both working on us at all times. They're both motivating us at all times. How and why are your thermostats set where they're at, and how do you adjust that?
Totally. Yeah. Thanks for that. I think the work really is finding that alignment, and my hunch is it takes a long time. And I think that a lot of people probably expect it to be easier than it is. And, you know, sadly, I think most probably just give up on finding it, that ultimate congruency. And so, Yeah, and I think that for me the takeaway there is I think the vision and the impact I perceive right now is too small to light that to continuously light that fire where I show up. And I recently heard this quote. I forget who said it, but it's something to the tune of if your dreams or your why or whatever, if they're not big enough to light that fire under your ass, then you should just go back to sleep until they are.
That's good. I like that. And let me share a couple of resources for you and for everybody here. So, have you read Steve Pressman's books?
War of Art.
Okay, yeah. Did you read? What was the other one? Shit. Have you read any of his other ones?
No. Oh, is the other one? No one cares about your writing, or your writing sucks, or something, or no one cares.
Here, hold on. Let me just pull it up on Amazon, and I'll tell you here. Oh, nobody wants to read your shit. No, I haven't read that one. Oh my gosh, where is it? Hold on. It is Turning Pro.
Mm.
Have you ever read Turning Pro?
No.
Turning Pro, I think that you should read. So Turning Pro is all about what he calls the resistance. And the resistance is that thing that we all feel when we are pursuing dreams, goals, and the resistance is procrastination, the resistance is depression, the resistance is whatever it is, right? Bad habits, drinking too much, partying too much, whatever. So it's all about that. We all experience that, and how do you address that, and what is that? Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I got to tell you, I find myself giving this guy credit more and more and more and more every day. Grant Cardone, love him or hate him, and I can see both sides of it. But I think because I can relate to him so much. And the reason why I say that is Grant Cardone was a guy who was successful, just like I've been successful, but he had built his business to the $3 million, $5 million, range, whatever, and was there until he was 52 years old, and nobody knew about him. And now Grant Cardone is Grant Cardone. I mean, the dude is just on fire, right? In every way. And that's just been over the last 10 years. And so when you read his books, and he's got the couple of books that I think in particular are just really, really, you get into his psychology of what caused the change that he went through that then allowed him to just really accelerate things. And I think that the 10X rule in particular is really good. And I think I'm trying to think if there was another one. Sell or Be Sold, maybe. No, I'm sorry. Be Obsessed or Be Average, actually. Mm-hmm. I think is actually a really, really good look into his, Jeff said as well, into his psychology and the way that he now thinks about his goals and his sense of purpose around his goals. And he went through exactly what you're talking about here, where he realized, geez, I wasn't thinking nearly big enough. I didn't understand the impact I could have, or I didn't believe the impact I could have. And so I wasn't really going for it. And so again, love him or hate him, the reality is in a very short period of time, after living a successful version of himself, but not a rocket ship, mm-hmm. all of a sudden in a very short period of time, the guy has just absolutely rocketed in all kinds of ways. And why is that? Right. And I think that there's just some really, really good lessons to learn in that book about why that is, that my guess is you may be able to apply to yourself as well.
Awesome. I will, I'll read all those books.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I'll reread. I think I'm due for a reread of The War of Art too. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Mike, thank you so much.
Of course, my man. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Love seeing you on these calls. Keep up the good work and let me know if there's any way I can help you. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Awesome. All right. So Marlene says, Kyle, follow-up question. Mike, can you elaborate on your clarity process to achieve congruence and what you decided to unload to feel imbalanced now? Whew, Marlene, I can try, but I don't know if I can do much good on this one other than just kind of share my experience, because I don't know that I necessarily have a process to it. I studied Tony Robbins stuff my entire life, and I love his material, and it had a massive impact on me. One of the most important lessons that he teaches in that, there's so many, but in his content, is that change happens in an instant, right? We hit that threshold, as he calls it. So your thermometer gets down to a low enough point, as I was saying with Kyle, that you hit that threshold and you go, no more. I can't do this anymore. All of a sudden, something kicks in, right? And that threshold for most people is experienced out of crisis. It can be experienced out of deliberate process as well. I just think that that's much less common. And I think when you're asking me about that process, it would probably be, I'd have to tell you, like, go to a Tony Robbins event. Like, that was my process. Because what I finally did was, when I was at my lowest, I made some decisions of I can't do this anymore. I let myself get mentally to a point where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. And I started making decisions. One of them was, getting a divorce. Super difficult decision, but absolutely one that, when you say, what did I unload? I unloaded the burden that I was carrying with that. And again, that has nothing, I'm not speaking ill about my ex-wife at all. I'm talking about my psychology around trying to make that relationship work and failing at it had put me in a very bad place. And so unloading that. And then I went to that Tony Robbins event shortly after that. And that was an awesome immersion experience. So you can listen to all his content, read all his books, all that type of stuff, but it's not an immersion. And when you go and experience an event and you throw yourself into it, so you're physically involved, psychologically involved, emotionally involved, congruence is the right word, Marlene, because you get everything working on solving that problem, not just intellectually reading or listening to DVDs or reading a book. You get emotionally involved. And that's one of Tony Robbins' biggest lessons, actually, is you got to physically get involved. You got to emotionally get involved. Intellectually is not enough to make change, because we can logically understand we need to make a change, but we don't do it. So that was a massive, massive turning point for me. And since then, I've just continued to understand myself better and understand the psychology around all that better. And where I have gotten to, thank goodness, I'm incredibly grateful for it, is just complete acceptance of who I am, what I want to do, that may not be the right fit for some people, and it may not be the right fit for some people that have been in my life, again, getting a divorce, things like that, and that's all okay. And I'm just being me and getting clear on what's important to me and just going. As long as what I am doing and trying to be is not harming anybody, I'm not doing anything bad to try and hurt anybody, then my thing that I'm doing to be me is just as good as anybody else's expectations of what I should be or anything like that, right? And so just complete comfort in, I'm going to be my version of me, and I'm going to completely and obsessively commit to that. And my version of me is an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur that is building certain types of businesses, and an entrepreneur that wants to help other people build certain types of businesses. Because I love that. And I believe in it so much. And I believe the impact of it so much that I just want to go, 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 go. So for me, those were the things, Marlene. And like I said, I know, I'm sorry, I wish I could give you like a better, but man, I've hired so many coaches over the years. I've done so much journaling over the years, all those things, and they all contribute to it. But if I had to say, if I met somebody who was truly like in a crisis, I would send them to a Tony Robbins event tomorrow, no question. I heard some of the most amazing stories, met some of the most amazing people. I happened to be standing next to a woman at that event who I just love dearly, who was essentially suicidal and had a bunch of great friends, and her great friends, out of complete desperation, none of them had been to a Tony Robbins event or anything, but just out of complete desperation, bought her a ticket to a Tony Robbins event and said, please go. We're just so worried for you, and we don't know what to do, and we just want to help because we love you. And she went, and it is unreal how it turned her life around and what amazing things she's doing now. I mean, it's unreal. So if I ever met anybody that I felt like was in like that crisis mode or whatever, I'd be sending them right there. This call took an interesting turn. Thank you, though. It was fun. It's fun for me. I hope it was fun for anybody else. Larry says, hey, Mike, I saw a post in your leverage group about the R4 search to SaaS methodology. I want to sign up for Go High Level and go through MSP Academy, but where does this come in? Looking for a path to success. Awesome, Larry. So the R4 sales system is the key sales approach that you will be using if you were following my MSP methodology and then looking to start selling. So the R4 search to SaaS is the key sales methodology that you will get from being in an MSP Academy. Okay. Tim says, where's the best place to find the best reputation management marketing snapshots and or third-party integrations for HighLevel? Tim, I don't know the answer to that. I would just ask in the HighLevel Facebook group. I honestly don't know the answer to that one because I haven't done a whole lot with reputation specifically. Chris says, I built a directory site and I'm just starting to give away free listings this week to move into SaaS. Should I build using Go High Level for email as the deliverability is not very good, or question mark? Chris, my recommendation is that I would use Go High Level for your sales process and your following up with your prospects and stuff like that. I would probably still use one of the major email service providers for anything that you're doing where you're like collecting emails and maybe doing more broad marketing around it. So like as an example, for their San Diego, my media site, my email for their San Diego is handled by MailChimp. But my email for their San Diego sales process is handled by HighLevel. Okay. I am much more confident right now that MailChimp can handle me sending out my newsletters to 30,000 plus people every week, and that they can manage deliverability and all that good stuff, and that I can do it efficiently, easily, all that, than I am with HighLevel. But I'm super happy with HighLevel's, like, a prospect came in, opted into a form, and now I need to send them an email to try and get booked on my calendar. All good. Okay, I hope that helps you. Marlene says, thanks for the answer on flipping your switch. Tony Robbins is now running ads for his upcoming event. Thanks for sharing in depth. Yay. Hey, thank you very much, Marlene. It's a fun conversation for me. I know it's kind of a deep conversation, maybe not what people were expecting on office hours, but I think it's so critical. So critical. I hope you make it to one of his events if you think it would help you. I think that they are potentially life-changing. I know it was for me. Tim says, what is the name of the most current and up-to-date media property training? Local Media Launch Accelerator. Tim, I don't really have it publicly listed right now. I'm going to relaunch it here real soon, though, so keep an eye out. Okay. Awesome, everybody. Look, this was a great office hours. Like I said, for me, I enjoyed the conversation a lot. I hope that you guys did as well. We've been here quite some time now, so I'm going to sign off. I got to get back to work here. You got to get back to work, I know. Happy Friday. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day and fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of my community and these office hours calls. I always appreciate your time and your attention and your business. These calls are every other week, except for in February, in the second half of February. I think there's 3 weeks in between because I have some travel planned. And so I adjusted the timing of the call. But if you get into the Circle community, and I put the link in here before, it's labspecial.com/office-hours. I'll make sure it's in the notes below this video as well for anybody who watches the replay. Get in there. You will automatically get signed up for the office hours calls and get the reminders sent from the system to make sure that you can attend when you'd like to. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you very much. MC Marketing Pros. Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Marlene. Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on a future call. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.